SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast discusses topics which are relevant to the everyday lives of seniors and their caregivers. We are joined by experts who share their knowledge on a variety of issues. SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast offers solutions and resources to create the best quality of life as we age. And now, let's welcome your host, Darlene Mahoney.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast. Our podcast can be listened to and followed most anywhere you enjoy music or podcasts, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and even Alexa, and many more. And please don't keep our podcast all to yourself. Share with a senior or caregiver who you think will benefit from the support that we provide. I am your host, Darlene Mahoney, and I'm excited to share the news that SeniorLivingGuide.com provides a one-stop shop to finding senior housing, including independent and active seniors, a new home, while providing an excellent resource to assisted living, skilled nursing, memory care, or even home health and caregiving services solutions, and one easy-to-navigate website. So visit SeniorLivingGuide.com today. And I would also like to thank our podcast sponsors, Parish Healthcare and Parish Medical Center. At Parish, they offer the Parish Senior Consultation Center and Parish Senior Solutions, where each patient's evaluation and follow-up care will be personalized to meet the needs of the individual and their families.
At Parish Healthcare, we believe in our community. We believe in keeping our community safe. We believe in the art of healing. We believe in healing patients, healing families, healing communities. We believe in the best and brightest working together for the common good. At Parish Healthcare, our team focuses on you as an individual because every life is a work of art to us. Parish Healthcare, where the art of healing comes to life. Visit parishhealthcare.com/healthaware for a free health risk assessment.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I am super excited to have Joe Pons. He is with us today, and he is from Baltimore, Maryland, and currently lives in beautiful Melbourne, Florida, which is where I live. He is a graduate from University of South Florida with a degree in criminology and became a community policing officer for the Pinellas Park Police Department. Within the last decade, he has become a seasoned business owner and entrepreneur, and he runs multiple business ventures. But what Joe does best, I think, right now is he helps people save money on their prescription medications. And I actually met Joe not too long ago, and he and I just really had a really deep conversation about this. So I thought he would make for a fabulous podcast panelist so he can share some of his in-depth knowledge with all of our listeners today. So thank you so much for joining us, Joe.
No, thank you. It is definitely my pleasure.
Yeah. So one of the things that kind of got you into this is the high cost of prescriptions. And we know in this country, it can be bananas what some prescriptions are insanely high. In fact, some of the ones that are the most life-saving can be really high. Even if you have Medicaid and Medicare, it can be something that just is not affordable for a lot of people. So what got you into looking for solutions to affordable prescriptions?
Quite simply, I got sick.
Okay.
At the time, I was doing some defense contracting. And for those who don't know, sometimes what they will do is they will pay you exorbitant amounts of money, but give you absolutely no incentives, no coverage, no insurance, nothing of that sort. I went to the hospital with a lifelong ailment. The bill for just the room, now I'm not talking about a private suite. This is a room that I shared with another gentleman, $16,000. This was back in 2012. Because I'm covered under the VA, their insistence is they will pay for everything as long as you send it in one packet at one time. If you leave anything out, you're responsible. I spoke to the young lady who was supposed to give me my medicine bill, and she was not going to give it to me because, in her words, nobody ever paid it. I took a moment, went back and forth, explained my need, and she gave it to me, and it was $6,000. And I got to thinking, in my particular position, I was able to not only afford it, but then have coverage through the VA. But what does John or Jane Q. Citizen do when this occurs? Most people live paycheck to paycheck. So getting hit with a subsequent bill of about over $30,000 and then having to go on medication, sometimes multiple medications for the rest of their life. What do people do? So I sought out a friend, we discussed it, and I brought this business here to Melbourne.
The business that you particularly have, it's called Canadian Meds. It's something that anyone from all over the nation can actually access.
That is correct.
You can access it online, but they can speak to you directly, correct?
Absolutely, at any point in time.
Okay. And the website?
Canadian Meds Melbourne.com. That's a dash, not an underscore.
Yes. There's other companies that provide these types of assistance, but you definitely would want to vet them for sure as far as providing quality, because quality is number one when you're looking at prescriptions.
Absolutely.
Right. After you started looking into this and realizing this was an issue, did you really also kind of realize that it was affecting seniors? They probably take more prescriptions than most people, just in a general basis.
Yes, I found that, particularly when I first started, it was mainly a senior thing. And as time went by, I get more and more calls, and I'm beginning to understand that it's not just an aged matters thing. Because yes, you're correct. As we get older, statistically speaking, those 75 years or older are taking anywhere between 12 to 14 medications. These are prescription medications at one time. However, learning on the go, there's children who have allergies. There was relatively recently, the deal about EpiPens, where they don't last more than a year. And every parent needs to have at least two, one for the school and one for the backpack or one for the purse. So there's needs I found all over, because now we look at going to the doctor more often, which means the doctor is more likely to prescribe something.
Yeah, I've noticed even as I age that every time I go to the doctor, they want to prescribe something. And I'm anti-prescription as long as I can. I know that as we age, well, you're having some cholesterol issues, you're having some high blood pressure issues. There's some different things that come as you age. So I have always tried to avoid any prescription medication unless I absolutely needed it. But I do sometimes feel when I go to the doctor that they're super happy to write me a prescription for something, and I'm not the best prescription taker because I'll try to avoid it unless I really, really need it. I don't have any prescriptions currently that are very expensive because I can get generic and I have insurance. It's not a stressor on me, but I also know that that's not always the case. I had an aunt that was diagnosed with MS, and I know that she did go out of country for her treatment. She went to Germany, and it was very successful for her. And that was years ago. I don't have the details on that, just based on what was available here for medication, on what was researched and what was available at that time. So I felt horrible for her that she had to make that choice because she had to leave her family in order to do it. But it was life-changing for her. So when you started doing research and really realizing the actual cost of medications, why do you think, kind of in a nutshell, that the cost of prescriptions and medications are so high in this country?
After many years of research, discussion, and thought, and I'm just giving my opinion, is that simply there's no rule to say that they can't. There's no legislation that says you can't go above a certain person's ability to pay. There's no sliding scale. And with the greatness of our country, we see that this is where we fail. Other countries will tell drug companies, this is how much you're going to charge for the first 2 years. And after that, we're not paying any more than set price. Here, there's no such rule.
Do you think that if you have XYZ medication that treats a specific Parkinson's, I'm just throwing this out there, that maybe a specific drug company offers, that once they've produced it, they hold on to that recipe or whatever that is, and they don't allow anyone else to produce it. So there's no competition. It just makes it much more expensive because it's very exclusive to one drug company.
Yes.
And that can be the catalyst versus saying, okay, so we've produced this and it's available.
We notably here within the United States extend our patents far beyond what other countries do. And I mean, generally speaking, worldwide, a patent will last for 2 years.
Okay.
Here, because like you said, they have certain exclusivity, they will not only patent a medication for 7 years, but then change one element of that particular medication so they can get another 7 years. And when I say one element, let's take, for example, Nexium, right? Everybody knows it here, marketed as the purple pill. It's a purple capsule shape, and it's got 3 gold rings. Technically speaking, if they were to go to 4 gold rings, they could get a patent for another 7 years. And because, like you said, we're a country of competition, if you can box out other people who have a very close or similar medication of that sort, well, they can charge whatever they want and not have to worry.
Okay. There are options, and I think people don't think about it and they may have concerns about it. Clearly, everyone has their own choice to make. You have more options. So you have to sometimes be an advocate for yourself. And that can be really hard when you're sick or you don't feel well, but being informed and really understanding what all your options are. And so we're going to talk about there are options that might save you money, but we want to talk about how you can potentially access those and the legality of them and the safety of them. And we're going to talk about that after we come back from our break from our podcast sponsors, Parish Healthcare and Parish Senior Medical Center.
Hey, Mom, how's the retirement home search coming?
Oh my gosh, I'm just so stressed out. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, why are you so stressed? What's the matter?
I don't know where to find anything. I just need everything in like one place and know what all the options are.
Does the idea of searching for senior housing seem overwhelming and you just aren't sure where to even begin? SeniorLivingGuide.com has great news for you. We offer a one-stop solution to take the stress out of your senior housing search. At SeniorLivingGuide.com, both our statewide Florida edition book and website are created to make your senior housing search very easy for you to navigate. We provide details on communities, including retirement, assisted living, skilled nursing, memory care, and home health, allowing you to decide which best fits your needs and then connecting you directly with those communities. Visit us online at SeniorLivingGuide.com.
At Parish Healthcare, we believe every life is poetry in motion, motivated by strength and determination. As your bone, muscle, and joint healthcare partners, we believe in blending the art of healing with the science of medicine to keep your body in motion. We believe in healing patients, healing families, and healing communities. For a free orthopedic health assessment, visit parishhealthcare.com/orthoaware. Parish Healthcare, where the art of healing comes to life.
All right, we are back with Joe. And once again, thank you to our podcast sponsors, Parish Healthcare and Parish Medical Center. So we've talked about the high prices and how that can be really detrimental to really anyone, but seniors as well. A lot of seniors are on fixed incomes. So we're going to talk about if you decided or wanted to explore an option of getting a prescription or medication that was not at your local CVS, I mean, is that something you can do? And where would it come from? What's the nitty gritty of it all? Yes.
Yeah, let's get down to where the rubber meets the road, as they say. I'm from Baltimore, and for the longest time when I was a kid, people would take empty suitcases and go to Niagara Falls on vacation, cross the border, fill those suitcases with a year's worth of medication, and come home. Well, for the longest time, and even still to this day, there is a misconception that that is, in fact, legal. Now, here's the thing. As a company, we can source our medication outside of the country, which includes Canada. The individual who goes and purchases these things technically was outside of the law. The FDA has come back and changed that because it happened so frequently. And now, more often than not, people will take a cruise outside the country, whether it be down south from here, Europe, like you spoke about, going to Germany. The fact is that the same exact medications that we take here are available outside of this country at pennies on the dollar. Now, the sourcing for this medication, yes, there's medication that's manufactured in Canada. In our particular case, there's two different ways of obtaining it. Now, we have our pharmacists who legally have to dispense it. I'm not a pharmacist, so I can't do that. But we have to have a pharmacist. But what we do is we source out medication from around the world. Drug companies left America, going to other countries with factories, not so much out of spite. It's strictly a financial thing. According to the FDA, 80% of all active ingredients are imported, which means 1 out of 5 pills, capsules, gels, creams, whatever volume you choose, those things are made here. Everything else comes from outside of our borders. The legality is this: as long as the customer, the client, the patient is the end user, they can get their medication through a third party, and there's no issue whatsoever.
So they would need a prescription.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Well, at least with certain companies.
Okay.
Inclusive of ours. We don't take the scan of a pill bottle. That's not sufficient. We, like many other companies like ourselves, consider us like your local pharmacy. The same rules apply.
Right. So basically what your company does and what other companies can potentially provide is taking the prescription that they're getting from their physician. I know my physician always says, where do you want to pick up your prescription? And that's really a convenience thing. But the physician doesn't necessarily determine where you get your prescriptions. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. They can use someone in order to safely. And that's, I think, the number one key that we really want to talk about, because, as our listeners are listening to our podcast, we want to make sure that anyone, especially nowadays where there's prescriptions that may have, incorrect ingredients and things like that you're getting legitimate prescription and you're utilizing a company that makes sure that you're getting the legitimate prescription that you have a prescription written for, making sure that you're using a legitimate company
yes,
to attain those prescriptions. What would be the criteria for vetting someone that can help them access prescriptions of this nature?
Being from a sales background, I tell people pick up the phone.
Okay.
Which does one of two things. One, it ensures that you're speaking to someone, because most of us are fairly good judges of character. If you talk to someone and you don't get a good vibe, maybe you shouldn't be purchasing your life-saving medication from them. What it also does is, it lets you know that there's someone real on the other end of that transaction. I tell people, you don't have to go with us. However, I would be aware and be careful of websites where there's no physical address listed. Because let's face it, in these times, your cousin can take and put up a website that is professional looking and sells any product. However, what you receive may not be, just like you said, it may not be what you're prescribed. Not only is it possible that you're not getting the right medication, but there's not enough of the effective medication in it to do what it's supposed to do. It could have other fillers, things that are actually dangerous. And how would you know until after the fact? And that's the dangerous part.
Well, and probably my big key when I'm purchasing things, if it's too good to be true.
I used to think that. Now, for most things, yes, absolutely. For those of us who have shopped in one of the world's largest online retailers, sometimes you find that to be exactly true. You look and you say, oh, that's perfect. And it shows up and it's 2 inches and you're going, that's not what I thought I ordered. The too good to be true part as far as medication is that I understand, and the reason why I started this was because of pricing. However, it should not be your sole reason, because of the fact that people, they see a price and they go, well, little Joe, guess what? You're not the cheapest and I'm going to go with them, which is fine. That's your purview, and I understand what it's like to be broke. I get it. Being broke is not fun, and you have to save where you can. The danger with that is that low price could be payment for absolutely nothing. Worse yet, it could be dangerous to your health. That's where I try to get people to understand that, yes, you have to do your homework. You don't have to believe what I say. Look it up. I try to use resources that can be easily found because sadly, most of the questions that we have do not have answers even amongst that super search engine called Google.
Oh, this is absolutely true. I mean, when I'm looking up retailers, they have clothing or accessories or things like that. It's sometimes very difficult to find out if they're legitimate or not. I try to err just on the side of caution, but I've got definitely scammed more than once by what I thought was legitimate.
Sure. I mean, many of us who've purchased from, big online retailers have discovered the same thing. Me, I'm a cologne guy, and the fact is that, yes, you can purchase a bottle of a name brand product only to receive it and realize that it's not quite the same thing. It, kind of looks like and sounds like a duck, but it isn't. And you realize that you just paid $150 for a bottle that basically is just alcohol and scent.
Well, one of the things I always say is I don't order cosmetics off of Amazon or hair products because while the bottle might look the same, I've had store-bought or salon-bought, and then what they've sent me, I've literally poured them at the same time and they don't have the same consistency, the same color. And I'm like, oh, that is shady. If you want something very specific, I think you have to be very careful. So clearly prescriptions, especially when, every time you turn on the news, the word fentanyl is leading the news cycle every single day. You want to make sure you're getting something that is the product, but also not something that has an issue of that nature.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the things that causes our pricing to be a little bit higher is that we do not shop or purchase medications manufactured in countries where inspectors cannot go.
Okay. If you're going to look for prescriptions outside the U.S., is it primarily Canada the better resource, or are there other countries that are?
As a resource, Canada, I believe, because of their ability to sift through a lot of that, as pharmacies go, yes, absolutely. However, there are pharmacies that reside in other countries that are equally as good because the medicine that we take comes from all over the world. And when I say that, I don't mean, there are generics, but there are certain countries that are known for manufacturing medications. And this is not to say that your consistency analogy, our companies, the big companies, GSK, Bristol Myers Squibb, Bayer, Pfizer, they all have resident factories in a lot of different countries. I try not to get people confused with economics, but the fact is that if you don't have to ship all of the ingredients from so far away, guess what? It costs less. It costs less to manufacture. So they can manufacture medication, like I told you before, pennies on the dollar, and then sell it at a premium here within the United States. However, I will say this, there are certain countries, I'm not going to jump on that too much, but there are certain countries that I wouldn't purchase from simply because our companies, generally speaking, do not have a presence there, and two, you don't know what you're going to get. And then when you leave the country, you also lose your legal foothold. And that's part of the reason why people say, well, little Joe, I'm going to go with you. Why? Because you know what? If there's something wrong, I can come and strangle you. I know where you are. Even if I got to get a flight, I'll come and I'll jump on your back and yell at you. And that's perfectly fine. The issue with the quick fix online, well, what happens if something does go wrong? What is your recourse?
Right. So I think we've talked a lot about how, you have to weigh your options and people have to make the best decision for them. Clearly, if it's affordable, getting your prescriptions here locally, picking them up at the CVS, having your it's all very, very convenient. But if it's something that is worth pursuing or worth looking into and really investigating, there is the option to look into purchasing prescriptions that are not within the US. That is something that is legal. You can do it. And it's just something I thought would be interesting to talk about because it could be a good fit for some of our listeners to just kind of think about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I really appreciate having you jump on today. And I'll mention your website again. It might be something that some folks might want to check out and just get some more information.
Absolutely. It's, www.canadianmeds-melbourne.com.
And it's Melbourne. I'm going to spell it out. MELBOURNE, like Melbourne, Australia, which would be really fun right now, but we're not. We're in Florida. So yes, so that's perfect. And it will also be included in all of the description of the podcast. So there'll be a hot link with all the description. So if you didn't catch that, just look in the copy of the description of the podcast and you can click on it and go straight to that website. One of the things I wanted to ask, in this country, if we have a prescription, but we don't have a generic for it, is there sometimes generics for that same prescription in other countries that might be available?
Yes, that is absolutely true, particularly after 2 years of it being marketed and manufactured here.
Okay.
Yes. Other countries, they don't have the same restrictions, and they understand that part of competition is, in fact, bringing more products of the same type into the marketplace. So while here, for the longest time, and you can name a medication, there has not been a generic product. Well, through us and companies like ours overseas, yes, they've been available for a very long time at a fraction of the cost. So you're exactly right.
I know I was sharing this story with you. I had migraines for a very long time. They were very debilitating to my life. And when Topamax came out, which was quite a while ago, they wanted to try me on it, and it ended up being life-altering. It literally gave me back my life. But I was a military spouse at the time, and so I was able to utilize the military pharmacy. So I did have that luxury, but only one military pharmacy had it. And I had to drive pretty far from it. It wasn't near my house. It wasn't the closest military base. And they'd give me 90 days. So it was a drive to go get it, but they didn't always have it in. They only got so much in. And then if they didn't have it, they didn't have it. Well, that's a medication you can't just go cold turkey off of. You have to be weaned on it and then weaned off of it. So I went to go get it and they didn't have any in. It was going to be a period of time. So they gave me a written prescription to go to like a regular pharmacy. And for like the month, it was like $500. And my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my gosh, because there was no generic at the time. So we negotiated just 7 days worth. And I don't remember how much I ended up paying for it because I knew that they would have my prescription in within 7 days at that base. Well, now there's the generic. I get it at CVS and it's inexpensive. It's so available and so inexpensive right now.
Yes. And sadly, that's a lot of people, a lot of your audience, a lot of people, their neighbors, because most of us, when we get in that situation, we think we're the only person and we're not. We're not alone in this. And you're a perfect example.
Exactly. So, well, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed chatting with you today, Joe.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. I certainly appreciate the opportunity, and I hope it brought value to your listeners.
I hope as well. I always think that we should all have options, especially when it comes to our healthcare. We should all be advocates for ourselves, and we should have our own voices when it comes to our own healthcare as well. So I think this was a good conversation.
I agree. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone that you care about. And also, we have many more podcasts. We have 57 podcasts other than this one on SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast. We can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, really anywhere you can listen to music or podcasts. Look for us there. Thank you.